revealed the incredible truth about this fish that could increase stroke risk by 25 overnight. Sarah poured the last of the coffee for a customer at Jake's corner and took a deep breath. The familiar smells of bacon and freshly baked pie filled the air, wrapping around her like a warm hug. She loved this job, loved this diner. It was more than just a place to work. It was the heart of Maplewood. But when the phone rang that night, the comforting hum of the diner faded away, replaced by a dark dread that sank into her chest. "Sarah, it's your mom," her mother's voice trembled. "It's Grandpa, he has had a stroke." The words clawed at Sarah's heart. Her grandfather, a World War II veteran, a storyteller, the anchor of their family, was in trouble. The world felt heavy, like it was pulling her under. Neighbors poured in, with casseroles and hugs, their kindness swirling around her like confetti against her sorrow. But just as she found comfort in their support, her phone lit up with distressing news. A report linking the Maplewood special, that cherished fish dish the diner was famous for, to a shocking increase in stroke risk. A chill gripped her. A dish that had graced tables for generations could be the very cause of her grandfather's plight. "Are you kidding me?" she muttered to herself, struggling to comprehend. To think something so legitimate could bear treachery, hidden behind old family recipes and loyal customers' fond memories. "Sarah!" Jake's gruff voice pulled her from her thoughts. He'd always been like family to her, a mentor who'd taught her everything she knew about waiting tables. But confronting him about the Maplewood special felt incomprehensible. "We can't just rip the heart out of this place," she whispered to herself, holding back tears. The diner was the lifeblood of the community, and her family's lifeline. But could she really let lives hang in the balance for the sake of tradition? Visiting her grandfather in the hospital stirred a mix of emotions: despair, anger, and a flicker of hope. In the quiet moments they spent together, he spoke of the importance of honesty. "Truth can hurt, but it also heals, Sarah," he said, the fire at his eyes urging her to act. As whispers started spreading in town, she could feel the pressure mount. Customers grumbled when the topic arose, a sense of betrayal lacing their hearts. Their favorites were at risk. How could she navigate this upheaval without losing her community? The weight of her grandfather's wisdom and the love of the community battled inside her. "Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen." Now let's continue. The air crackled with tension, and Sarah felt the enormity of her decision bearing down on her, heavy and suffocating. The truth lingered just beneath the surface of her thoughts. With her grandfather's knowing eyes in her mind, she stood at the brink of revealing a secret that had the power to uproot generations of tradition. Should she risk it all to save lives? The diner, her community, and her family's legacy were all on the line. What was the price of honesty? As she approached the door to speak with Jake, her resolve hardened. Could she find the strength to speak up for the future they all deserved, or would fear keep her silent, forever chained to the past? The diner was quieter than usual that morning. Sarah shuffled behind the counter, pouring coffee with automatic precision. Her mind was too busy processing the storm brewing just beneath the surface of her thoughts. The whispers among the customers turned into a soft roar. They were discussing the report as if it were the latest gossip. Each mention of the Maplewood special twisted in her gut like a knife. "Did you hear what they said about that fish?" a widow at the corner booth asked her friend. "I can't believe we've been eating that all these years." "Guess it's time to change our orders," the friend replied with a shrug, oblivious to the turmoil within Sarah. Every word hit her like a wave crashing against a fragile shore. She had to do something. The question was, how? "Sarah, I need you to clean the grill today," Jake called from the back. His voice broke through her fog. She glanced over, noting the worry etched on his weathered face. He looked like a man carrying the weight of the world on his shoulders. "Sure thing, Jake," she replied, trying to sound upbeat, masking the tremor in her voice. As she scrubbed the grill, the sizzling sound mixed with her racing thoughts. Could she really confront Jake today? He had built this diner from the ground up, pouring years of hard work and love into it. But what if the very thing that had given them life was now a danger to their community? Her hands trembled as she wiped down the surface. Memories of her grandfather flooded her mind. His laughter, tales of valor, and the lessons he imparted wrapped around her like a warm blanket. "You have to stand for what is right, even when it's hard," he had said. Taking a deep breath, Sarah wiped her hands on her apron, her heart racing. She needed to speak with Jake and tell him. But fear of his reaction gnawed at her. Would he see her as a traitor to tradition? Or would he understand that this was about more than just fish? After finishing the grill, she found Jake in the back office, leaning over invoices. "Hey Jake, can we talk?" Her voice wobbled, but she stood tall. "Sure. What's on your mind?" He looked up, his brows furrowing at the seriousness etched across her face. "It's about the Maplewood Special," she began, feeling her resolve strengthen as the words bubbled up. "I think we need to reconsider it. What if it really is linked to the stroke risk?" Jake scoffed, shaking his head. "This is a diner, Sarah. People love that dish. You can't just throw away decades of tradition because of one article." "But what if it's true?" Her voice rose, her hands trembling with urgency. "What if it's hurting our customers? My grandpa, he's in the hospital right now because of a stroke. I can't stand by and watch this happen to others." For a moment, silence filled the space between them. Jake's expression softened. She could see the wheels turning in his head, doubt creeping in. "There must be another way," he finally said, his voice low, almost hesitant. She felt a spark of hope. "Maybe we can update the recipe? Make it healthier while keeping the spirit of it alive?" Jake leaned back in his chair, considering. "Maybe, but we'd have to do it right." The weight of their conversation hung in the air, but Sarah felt a flicker of light breaking through the darkness. They could navigate this together. They could keep the diner alive and safeguard their community. But as she turned to leave, uncertainty gnawed at her. Would the community accept change? Could she truly save lives without losing everything she loved? The road ahead was uncertain, but one thing was clear: she had to try. As the bell above the door jingled, signaling a new customer, Sarah gathered her strength. What else could come to light as they began this urgent journey together? Sarah wiped her forehead, feeling the weight of their conversation linger like the steam rising from the grill. She stepped out into the diner's main area, the familiar smell of brewed coffee and sizzling bacon suddenly feeling stifling. Her heart pounded in her chest as she glanced around. The usual morning crowd was a mix of locals, all busily chatting or lost in their morning routines. But today, something felt different. Conversations that once revolved around mundane life had shifted into discussions about the Maplewood Special, hovering over them like an unwanted cloud. As she started pouring refills, she overheard snippets of talk. "Dangerous fish, stroke risk, can't be true." Each word was like a pebble thrown into a pond, sending ripples of nervous energy through her. She took a deep breath, forcing a smile as she approached a table of regulars, their hands cradling mugs like lifelines. "Morning, everyone," she called out, her voice steady, though her insides twisted. "Hey, Sarah. We're just talking about that article. Crazy stuff," Tom, the high school teacher, said. His face was bright with the thrill of sharing gossip, completely unaware of how close he was to the truth that tormented Sarah. "Yeah, can you believe it? chimed in Linda, who had been coming to the diner since it opened. "I've been ordering that dish for years. What are we supposed to do now?" A swell of fear washed over Sarah. The article wasn't just stirring conversation. It was reshaping their community's identity. She forced herself to join in. "I think it's important we know what we're eating. Health is no joke," she said, keeping her tone light. "True, but we can't just throw away our favorite." "The diner is this town's heart," Linda replied, and several heads nodded in agreement. Their opinions cut deeper than any knife could. How could she convince them, change their minds, when their attachments were so rooted in tradition and familiarity? She bit her lip, a plan forming. Maybe it wasn't just about the recipe change. It was about keeping the community together while making necessary alterations. Before she could second-guess herself again, she marched to the back office where Jake was still absorbed in invoices. "Jake, I think we need to have a community meeting," she blurted out, excitement mingled with apprehension. Jake looked up, his brows wrinkling into deep lines. "A meeting? About what?" "About the Maplewood special. We should bring everyone together, help them understand what is at stake. It might even do some good." Her heart raced as she hoped he'd back her plan. "I don't know, Sarah," he hesitated, leaning back in his chair. "You know how people can be. Change doesn't sit well with folks. But it has to. It's about their health. And our business. This isn't just about one dish anymore. It's about being responsible for our community," she pressed, crossing her arms defiantly. Jake ran a hand through his hair, lost in thought. "Okay. We can try, but I'm telling you, it won't be pretty." Sarah smiled, hopeful. "We owe it to them, Jake. Let us at least give it a shot." As they began sketching out a plan for their community meeting, Sarah felt a weight lift off her shoulders. Maybe they could do this together. Maybe they could turn the tide, not just for the diner, but for the health of everyone who walked through their doors. But the unease nagged at her. What if the community rejected her? What if she lost the very thing she was trying to protect? As thoughts swirled, she glanced out at the bustling diner, her heart filled with a mixture of hope and dread. Could they really inspire change? Or would it end up tearing the community apart? The questions loomed larger than ever as the bell over the door chimed again, bringing in a new wave of customers, all blissfully unaware of the storm brewing behind the scenes. Sarah took a deep breath, ready to face whatever came next. She knew they had to brace themselves together. But with every challenge lay a question that remained. What if the truth was far more dangerous than they had ever anticipated? The diner buzzed with the familiar sounds of forks clinking against plates, the chatter of patrons lost in companionable conversation. But for Sarah, the usual comfort of the morning routine felt like it was trapped behind a thick wall of uncertainty. She returned to the kitchen, where steam wafted through the air, carrying the sharp yet comforting scents of grilled onions and seasoned meats. Jake stood at the counter, scribbling down notes for the upcoming meeting. "Do you think they'll show up?" he asked, glancing up from the paperwork, a hint of doubt clouding his voice. "I hope so," Sarah replied, feeling her own apprehension swell within her. "They need to hear this. We're not just asking them to stop eating something. We're giving them a chance to take control of their health." As they worked, she felt each moment pulling tighter, the weight of unspoken truths thickening the air. Her mind raced with images of familiar faces: Tom, Linda, the elderly couple who sat every morning in their usual booth, each one a piece of the community puzzle. Would they trust her, or would they see her as an outsider trying to disrupt their lives? "Here's what I'm thinking," Sarah started. "We can explain the risks, how this affects everyone. Maybe we can even create a new dish that still honors the Maplewood special but is healthier. A compromise." Jake raised an eyebrow. "That could work, but what if someone reacts badly? What if they think we're betraying their favorite?" "We have to believe they'll understand," she said, trying to keep her voice steady. We care about them. They've been loyal to us, and we owe them the truth. We can't let fear keep us from making a difference. Time seemed to drag on as they finalized the details for the meeting. Sarah's heart raced with every tick of the clock, each second taking her closer to potential confrontation. When the bell over the door jingled again, her stomach flipped. The diner was filling up, and she was about to reel them into a conversation that could change everything. "So what is the big news?" asked Tom, plopping onto a stool at the counter, looking eager for the next slice of gossip. Sarah forced a smile, but inside, her heart hammered. "We're having a community meeting tonight. We want to talk about the Maplewood Special and some health concerns." Tom raised an eyebrow, the brightness in his eyes dimming slightly. "Health concerns? Like what?" Before she could respond, Linda strolled in, catching the tail end of the conversation. "Oh no, what happened? Are we going to have to change our favorite meal? I can't imagine dinner without it." Sarah felt that lump in her throat grow. "It's not about taking anything away. It's about making sure we all know what we're eating and how it could impact us. Can we count on you to come and hear us out tonight?" Silence enveloped the counter as the question hung in the air. The tension was palpable, the room suddenly feeling smaller. Linda exchanged worried glances with Tom. "I mean, I guess we can come," Linda said, uncertainty lacing her tone. "Sure, I'll be there too," Tom added, though his shaky voice betrayed his anxiety. As they nodded and turned back to their meals, Sarah felt a rush of hope mingled with dread. Maybe they would come, but what if they showed up ready to fight back? That primal fear gnawed at her insides. What if they didn't want change? What if they preferred the cozy familiarity of the Maplewood Special even in the face of danger? As she watched more faces filter through the door, she knew discussions were brewing about the meeting, just as they were about the article. Internally, she braced herself, knowing she had to prepare for anything. The clock was ticking down to their pivotal moment. The only thing she knew for sure was that tonight would reveal not just the community's appetite for change, but also the depths of their loyalty, a mix of both hope and fear rising with every passing second. Could the truth bring them together, or would it only deepen the divides they hadn't even recognized? Would Sarah have the courage to face their doubts, or would she crumble under the weight of expectation? As night fell, the diner was transformed. The warm glow of the neon lights outside mingled with the buzzing anticipation inside. Patrons were settling in, cups steaming, but the usual hum felt tinged with tension. Sarah wiped down tables, her mind racing as the minutes ticked by. She glanced at the clock more times than she could count. Was it nerves? Gears of worry turned in her chest as she rehearsed her talking points in her mind. Jake was busy at the back, setting up a makeshift area for the meeting. A low murmur filled the space as friends exchanged hopes and worries about what the evening held. But no amount of chatter could settle Sarah's pounding heart. "Remember, people care about you," she whispered to herself as she stepped out from the kitchen, trying to channel that reality into her heartbeat. She caught sight of Tom and Linda, deep in conversation with a few other regulars, their expressions revealing a blend of curiosity and unease. Maybe her words were weighing heavily on them too. "Hey!" Linda waved her over, and Sarah took a deep breath before crossing the diner. The sight of those familiar faces made her both calm and anxious. "Thanks for coming, you guys," Sarah started, forcing a smile that felt more like a mask. "It means a lot." Tom looked up, a crease of worry on his forehead. "So this is serious, huh? What are we really talking about tonight?" Before she could reply, Jake emerged, a welcoming smile on his face, holding a small chart. "All right, everyone. Thank you for coming. We promise to keep this brief." His tone was reassuring, but Sarah noticed the flicker of uncertainty behind his confident demeanor. As the clock struck 6, the diner but shifted into a hushed awareness. Now their focus was on Sarah and Jake. They gathered at the front, with an audience of familiar faces that she felt at once comforted and intimidated by. "We know you love the Maplewood Special," Jake began, leaning against the counter. "But we need to talk about its ingredients and the impact they might have on your health." Sarah took a deep breath. "We're not here to take away what you love. We want to offer you choices that can protect your health while honoring traditions. We believe you have a right to know what's on your plate." Suddenly Tom stood up, crossing his arms defiantly. "But it's just a meal, right? This is how we've been eating for years." There was a fire in his eyes as he looked around at the nodding heads. Other patrons murmured in agreement, tension thickening the air. Sarah felt a pang hit hard in her chest. "I understand," she said carefully. "But we also need to consider the bigger picture. Is that one meal worth risking your health? If you knew that the fish could increase your risk of stroke by 25, would you still feel the same?" That statement hung like a heavy weight in the diner. Faces shifted from enthusiasm to uncertainty, the reality creeping over them slowly. "What do you mean by that?" Linda asked, a frown tugging her features. "Are you saying yes?" Sarah interrupted gently. "There are studies that suggest these ingredients can be harmful in large quantities. We want you to make informed choices. That's why we're considering healthier alternatives." The room grew silent. Not everyone was ready for what she'd just revealed. Was that a hint of backing away in the crowd? You could almost hear the doubt settle like fog creeping in. Jake sensed the shift, glancing at Sarah with concern. "It's about finding a balance. There are ways to keep the essence of what you love while keeping you healthy." Finally, an elderly man at the back spoke up. "But why now? Why is this coming up? We've been eating the same way for years." A chorus of discontent grew, echoing through the diner. Anxiety prickled Sarah's skin. Would she be able to navigate this storm? Would they listen or turn away in fear of what change could mean? How deep did their loyalty run? As discussions erupted around her, Sarah clasped her hands together, desperate for calm in the chaos. "Tonight isn't just about food," she said, raising her voice a little to regain control. "It's about our community's future. Are we ready to support each other through change?" That question lingered and rippled through the room, drawing mixed reactions. Would they rally together, or would fear send them scattering? In that moment, Sarah realized it wasn't just about the Maplewood Special anymore. It was about trust, vulnerability, and the fragile thread that tied them all together. What would it take to bridge that gap? The answer loomed ahead, uncertain yet vital. The murmurs turned into a whirlwind of voices, each one echoing Sarah's worst fears. Questions flooded the air. What does this mean for our family recipes? How will we trust the diner again? Are we really at risk all this time? Sarah's heart sank as she watched disbelief morph into anger, confusion, and betrayal. The very people she hoped to help now seemed to feel cornered, defensive. She thought about the Saturday morning regulars, the laughter shared over tall stacks of pancakes, the warmth of community woven through every meal. Did they really see how serious this could be? "Look, I get it," she explained, her voice shaky but firm. "Change is hard. I've spent weeks gathering information, talking to experts, and thinking about each of you. This isn't just a decision we rushed into, it's about your lives. Your health matters to me." The words slid into silence, but the tension remained. Sarah felt a familiar burn of determination spark within her. "What if I told you there are healthier versions of those recipes? We can keep the flavors you love without compromising your health. Isn't that worth talking about?" Jake stepped in, sensing the rising tide. "We could have tasting events. We'll sample the new dishes alongside the old ones. It's not about taking away. It's about creating something new together. This diner belongs to all of us." Tom, arms still crossed, looked ready to retort. Yet Linda, Her face softening, added, "That could be a compromise, right? A way to experiment without losing what we hold dear." "Exactly." Sarah felt a flicker of hope at her words. "Together, we can create something special that honors our past, but protects our future." A few faces shifted from anger to contemplation. She knew the journey wouldn't be easy, but maybe this conversation could lead them somewhere vital. Suddenly, the elderly man spoke again, his voice steadier now. "We've built this place on tradition. But if we're talking health, I don't want my grandkids growing up addicted to food that could hurt them." There it was, that universal connection she had longed for. Family's future, love. She leaned forward, knowing this was a turning point. We can honor our traditions while looking forward. Let our legacy be one of change, of health. Imagine telling stories of how the Maplewood Special evolved, rather than just lamenting its loss. Nods crept through the crowd, hesitance retreating as eyes met hers. She held her breath, hoping they would choose to step forward together. Jake caught her eye and smiled, reassuring her. "Let us come together. We can even create a committee to bring everyone's ideas in. This diner can be a community hub, transforming us in ways we never dreamed." A wave of excitement began to ripple, slowly extinguishing the cooler, distant feels. Sarah felt lightness flood her heart. "I want us all to be proud of what we eat. We can do this together." But just as Sarah's hopes swelled, Tom stood tall again. "And what about those who don't want change at all? What if they don't come back?" That worry hung high in the air, a stark reminder of the work still ahead. The diner's atmosphere felt electric, torn between hope and fear, the past and the future. Sarah knew it would take more than just enthusiasm. It needed commitment from everyone, a true collective effort. Could they all find the courage to embrace change, or would the bonds of history tie them down? The path was uncertain, but Sarah felt a stirring inside her. They would fight for this, she had to believe it. With that thought heavy in her heart, she glanced at Jake, preparing to respond, but he held up a hand. "Let us take a vote then. Who's willing to try?" Every eye turned toward her, and for a moment, Sarah sensed the weight of not just their decision, but a mirror of what it meant to take a leap of faith. Would they step into the unknown together? As hands began to rise, all of them still wrestling with their doubts, the room buzzed with uncertainty and hope. The room vibrated with a mix of eagerness and hesitation as hands hesitated midair, the power of their collective agreement hanging by a thread. Sarah scanned the faces before her, searching for a sign of unity, a gesture that would bind their hearts in this shared leap into the unknown. The weight of expectations pressed down on her, but against that weight, hope flickered like a candle in a windstorm. Jake took a deep breath, visibly rallying his own thoughts. "Every great dish comes from an experiment. Remember the first time we tried the spicy bacon pancakes? They went from a wild idea to a crowd favorite. This can be the same." A few people chuckled nervously at the memory, the subtle joke easing the tension. Sarah felt her heart race. They were finding common ground. Yet Tom's voice cut through the laughter like a knife. "And what if it doesn't work? What if we lose customers? My grandkids love their grandpa's meatloaf, just like their great-grandpa did." This was at the pivotal moment. The challenge lay bare, threatening to unravel everything she had envisioned. The diner, their home, their history, it all seemed on the brink of crumbling. Sarah's mind raced, trying to think of the right words to create balance between nostalgia and the promise of change. "Tom," she began, her voice steady but gentle. "What if we could keep that meatloaf but just tweak it a little? Maybe substitute some lean turkey instead of beef, or add veggies in a way that makes it still taste like family?" She locked eyes with him. "I want your grandkids to have those memories with healthy foods they can enjoy the same love, just with a new twist." A ripple of murmurs broke the stillness, heads nodding as they began to embrace her vision. The flicker of possibility ignited deeper than it had before, and for the first time, Sarah caught a glimmer of acceptance in Tom's eyes. "I appreciate that, Sarah," he finally muttered, relaxing his posture just slightly. "But what about the people who want what they grew up with, no changes? Are we really catering to them?" That question struck. It echoed the very nature of their gathering and reminded Sarah of the responsibility she bore. They couldn't ignore those who clung to traditions, nor could they ignore the pressing need for health. "Maybe it's not just about change," she suggested, slowly pacing the room, "but about coexistence. We can host throwback nights, where we serve the originals, alongside new creations. Let the customers decide. They can talk about which one takes them back while trying something new." A warmth spread through the room as ideas flourished. The chatter sparked between regulars and newcomers alike, and for every voice raised in doubt, a voice joined in support. Jake's enthusiasm swelled. "Exactly. We can still hold on to the past, but take steps toward a healthier future. Imagine experimenting on Fridays with themes that showcase both old and new." In that moment, Sarah's breath came easier, her heart swelling with momentum. This diner can be both honoring tradition and approaching health. It's a tribute to where we've been while looking forward. Suddenly, the elderly man who had first voiced concern stood again, leaning forward with conviction. "I've always believed that as a community, we can move mountains. If it's good for my family, then I'm in." The statement sent waves of encouragement crashing through the crowd, igniting smiles and renewed motivation. Sarah couldn't help but beam, her vision coming to life right in front of her eyes. As the voting began, hands raised high in support of adapting their beloved diner, Sarah could see the shift in the atmosphere. It wasn't just acceptance, it was a rebirth. But amidst it all, a small, sinking feeling shadowed her heart. What if the change didn't resonate? What if Tom was right and the traditionalists felt alienated? As they counted hands, Sarah realized that this was just the beginning of a much larger journey. The future of Maplewood depended on much more than a vote. It hinged on genuine commitment, every voice heard, every plate filled. With care, and in that singular moment, she understood. This wasn't only about healthier menus. It was about finding new ways to lay the table for her community's heart. As the tally closed, and excitement buzzed, she knew a new challenge was looming. Could they truly unite their past with their future? Would love and food intertwine despite the fears? Sarah looked around, the energy in the room tangible, and felt a sense of responsibilities associated with leading them forward. She had to keep it alive, keep each person informed and involved. But what if the plan stumbled beneath the weight of tradition? The question tinged the air thick with tension, leaving Sarah on the precipice of uncertainty, ready to venture out and find the answers. The counting was almost complete, the tension like a living thing in the air. Sarah fought to hold onto her optimism. As she glanced at Tom again, his furrowed brow, the way he clenched and unclenched his hands, she felt a pang of empathy for him. He was scared. His roots ran deep in tradition, and change could feel like an earthquake to someone like him. 24 in favor, 12 against. Jake announced, his voice cutting through the uncertainty like a hot knife through butter. Faces lit up, cheers broke out, and a sense of victory washed over the room. But for Sarah, the thrill of winning the vote was muted by the realization that this was only the beginning. They hadn't won the hearts of everyone, not yet. Tom's expression still nagged at her thoughts. She needed to address the wounds this change might leave. "Okay, everyone," she called out, standing on a chair for a better view. The chatter quieted, a mix of hope and apprehension dancing in the air. "I want to thank you all for your support. This is a big step, but it requires ongoing communication. Think of it like our diner. It grows and adapts, but it's still home. Can you promise us that the classics won't vanish?" asked an older woman in the front, her face lined with care. I promise, Sarah replied, her heart racing. We'll showcase our beloved dishes and make room for new flavors. You'll all have a voice in what comes next. Tom crossed his arms, skeptical but softened. And if your new ideas don't stick, what then? His question hung in the air, heavy and daunting. Sarah felt the pressure build inside her, the weight of responsibility rolling like a storm cloud. Then we'll adjust. We'll listen to feedback. Change doesn't mean you lose everything. It means we explore together, as a family. Just when she felt she was gaining ground, a voice piped up from the back, a young man, new to the diner. What if nobody likes the new stuff? What if the regulars stop coming? His words stung. The uncertainty of it all wrapped around Sarah like a thick fog, but she couldn't show fear. If we're not willing to experiment, we'll stagnate, she countered, feeling stronger now. People want options. Imagine bringing in young families eager for healthy choices, while still honoring tradition for the older crowd. We can grow together. Those words seemed to resonate, tiny sparks of excitement igniting the room. Slowly, people began to speak up, sharing their ideas on new dishes. Sarah listened intently, jotting down notes, as exhilaration flickered through her. In that moment of shared creativity, it felt like hope blossomed among them. The tension eased, laughter floated like music, and even Tom began to offer suggestions. It was beautiful, like a chorus rising up in harmony. As the meeting wrapped up, and everyone filed out, Sarah lingered a moment, catching her breath. The diner felt changed already, like it was breathing with renewed energy. But right before she could bask in that glow, her phone buzzed with a message, an urgent notification that snagged her attention. Something about a controversial ingredient causing health concerns flashed across the screen. A mix of dread and urgency welled up inside her. What if the changes they were proposing rubbed people the wrong way? What if this new dish trend they were about to embark on had unexpected risks? She shook her head, pulling herself back. "You're overthinking this, Sarah," she whispered, trying to shake the sense of impending doom. Yet, the variable was there. What if she was leading them down the wrong path? The diner was completely transformed for the evening rush, bustling and alive. Yet, as she looked at the menu, a hard knot tightened in her stomach. Could she really navigate this new terrain? What if the very changes she cherished created division rather than unity, sparking backlash from the community they held dear? Sarah felt the ground shift beneath her, fragile and unsteady. This was about more than just food, it was about trust. As she wiped down the counter, she knew the next few weeks would be critical. What would happen if they encountered opposition? What if the very community she sought to bring together decided they weren't ready for this leap? With uncertainty looming over her like a storm, she realized they were walking a tightrope, and she felt the exhilarating fear of standing on the edge. Would they soar, or would they fall? And as the diner's door swung open, welcoming familiar faces, one question loomed in the back of her mind, heavy as a stone. Was she ready for whatever came next? The evening unfolded with hurried footsteps and eager voices, the diner pulsating with life. Sarah moved through the bustling kitchen, her heart racing, each plate of food feeling like a delicate promise she was making to her customers. The aroma of fried chicken danced with the scent of fresh herbs, creating a comforting embrace that felt like home. But deep down, an undercurrent of anxiety gnawed at her. As she passed the serving station, Jake caught her eye, a slight frown forming on his lips. "Hey, did you see that message about the fish?" he asked, his voice low, edged with concern. "Yeah," Sarah sighed, the weight of the notification crashing over her like a wave. "It's about the new dish we plan to introduce. I thought it was a healthy option." He shook his head. "A lot of people are worried. Wouldn't it be better to hold off?" She met his gaze, frustration bubbling up. "We can't let fear dictate everything. We need to be open about our changes. Educate, don't just hide." Yet, As she said it, doubt flickered within her. What if she was wrong? She took a deep breath, consciously exhaling the tension. We need to have a plan to address this, Jake. Tonight, after service, let us gather the staff. We need to think on our feet. He nodded, albeit hesitantly. Okay, but I still think we should be cautious. With the evening rush blossoming into chaos, Sarah pushed the worries aside. The diner thrummed with laughter and chatter, an electric mix of old friends reconnecting over plates of classic comfort food and newcomers sampling their first bites. Time slipped by as she weaved through tables, checking in with patrons, sharing laughs, and appreciating every smile that lit up a face. It's so good to see you. The meatloaf is still my favorite, a lady exclaimed, her eyes twinkling with nostalgia. Don't worry. We're keeping it forever, Sarah replied, her voice bright, but her mind flickered back to the message. She had promised to keep the traditions alive, yet the temptation of new flavors lingered like a siren's call. As the shift wore on, Sarah's resolve began to harden. The fears outside, the ones about the new ingredients or the conservative diners who felt threatened, seemed small in the haze of busy plates and laughter. Maybe introducing the new dishes didn't mean she'd have to abandon her identity. Maybe it was just another way to enhance the diner's heartbeat. After the last dish was served and the cleanup began, Sarah gathered her staff in the back room. There was a palpable energy in the air, a mix of concern and eagerness that mirrored her own. We need to talk about the news. Let us address the ingredient and how we'd like to handle it if questions pop up. Jake crossed his arms, leaning against the counter. What if we do a trial? Maybe offer the new dishes as specials and see how customers respond before going all in? Great idea, Sarah replied, grateful for his support. We can introduce them slowly and use feedback to shape what stays. That way, we keep our classics while allowing for innovation. The team nodded, a ripple of relief passing through the group. A revitalized energy sparked in their eyes as they began brainstorming adjustments and ways to promote the new options carefully. As they stood united in their determination, Sarah's heart swelled. They were a family, intertwining their hopes and dreams in one space, ready to face any challenge together. However, that underlying storm still lurked in her mind. Just as they wrapped up, Sarah's phone rang, the screen flashing with an unfamiliar number. Her pulse quickened, fear gripping her again. Should she answer? Who is it? Jake asked, glancing curiously at her phone. I don't know, but I have a feeling this call could change everything. With the room's chatter fading into the background, Sarah took a deep breath, prepared to face whatever news awaited her. If this was the other shoe dropping, what would it mean for the diner? Would the call bring resolution, or would it usher in further conflict threatening the very trust she was trying to build? Sarah answered the call, her voice steady despite the storm of emotions swirling inside her. Hello? The voice that came through crackled and familiar, sending a wave of relief and tension through her. It was Dr. Thompson, her grandfather as physician. Sarah, I wanted to give you an update on your grandpa. He is stable now, responding well to treatment. We've adjusted his medications, and he is starting to make slow progress. He has been asking about you, and I thought you'd want to know. Tears pricked her eyes, a flood of relief washing over her. Thank you, doctor. I can't tell you how much that means to me. I just want him to be okay. I know, Sarah. He is a fighter, and he is lucky to have a family that cares. Listen, I also want to talk to you about that fish dish you serve at the diner. Her stomach dropped. What about it? Some of the ingredients raise concerns, not just for your community, but anyone who consumes them regularly. I appreciate your willingness to discuss this in the public eye. It's important. His words wrapped around her heart, igniting her resolve. We are having community discussions about healthier options. I'm trying to keep the diner's spirit alive while addressing health risks. It's been a challenge. Healthy choices are crucial, especially if you're a community cornerstone. Your diner has an opportunity to lead the way by embracing new culinary practices. Just don't forget, Sarah, it's okay to take small steps. Change doesn't have to be monumental to be impactful. As his words resonated through her, Sarah felt clarity replace her previous doubts. Thank you for the encouragement, Dr. Thompson. I'll make sure to approach this carefully. When they hung up, she took a deep breath, the conversations from earlier mixing with newfound hope. They were navigating uncharted waters, but she believed in this journey. She turned to her staff, who were still buzzing about their plans for the new dishes. Okay, everyone. I just got off the phone with my grandpa's doctor, she announced, and a hush fell over the group. He is stable and doing better. But I also learned some vital information about the fish and its ingredients. It's time to unite our efforts. We have a chance to lead our community, not only in culinary tradition, but in healthier choices. She felt the wave of apprehension from moments before lift, replaced by determined energy. Let us focus on innovation while honoring our roots. We'll create special nights to showcase these new dishes, promote awareness, and invite feedback so that our loyal customers feel a part of the change. The team exchanged glances of unity, infectious smiles spreading as excitement began to bloom. Are we ready to bring this to the next level? Sarah asked, her heart swelling with pride. Absolutely, Jake exclaimed, enthusiasm brightening his face. Let us make these changes together. We'll create a healthy diner culture while keeping the essence of Maplewood alive. As the night progressed, the staff rallied around their plan, brainstorming ways to introduce new options alongside beloved classics. Creativity bloomed, laughter echoed, and a collective determination pulsed through their conversations, pushing everyone closer toward the vision they were building. That evening, possibilities unfurled like a tapestry, moments weaving together a balance between the past and future. And though uncertainties lay ahead, Sarah felt a vibrant undercurrent of hope nudging them forward, a promise that honesty would create a stronger community. As she wiped down the last table of the night, Sarah reflected on how they had come together through challenges. Their fight for transparency and health had galvanized not just her spirit, but the spirit of her community. They could transform a beloved diner into a beacon of hope, radiating warmth to everyone who walked through their doors. With her grandfather's laughter echoing in her mind, she closed the diner for the night, a smile dancing on her lips as she whispered, "We're just getting started." If you felt this journey with us, then now is the time to show your support. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories that inspire change. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Your support is crucial. Comment below with your reactions and feelings about this transformation story. We want to hear from you. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see how courage can unite a community. This is the moment to rally together and show your love. Don't wait not even one more second. Your engagement makes all the difference.